step into the world of fun.
Lu Hanyin turned her head and snorted lightly. How could I ever be as kind to him as head constable Li is? Wan tugged at her sleeve and whispered, Miss, don't be angry. Lu Hanyin said indignantly. I'm not angry at all. Why would I get angry over a man? Men are all big pig's feet. Wan's throat moved involuntarily. Muttered, pig's trotters. Miss, let the young master stew pig's trotters for us tonight. Lu Hanyin reached out and tapped on her forehead. Eat, eat, eat. You only think about eating. You don't even know when your husband is being taken away. Wan was shocked. Who dares to snatch the young master? Lu Hanyin rubbed her head. He sighed helplessly. You're not married yet. It's over. How can someone as foolish as you win against anyone? Even if you get married, it's a fate to be bullied. Wan apologizes. Miss is clever. I will follow Miss for a lifetime. Lu Hanyin is speechless. How can you follow me if you get married? Wan said firmly, even if I get married, I can still do it. Lu Hanyin was stunned for a moment. Then she angrily pinched the little girl's ear. Stupid girl, what are you thinking? LiMu returned to the county office. Telling her own thoughts to Li Qing said in surprise, You're going to Chao County? LiMu nodded and said, I have condensed 3 pu. It can deal with ordinary zombies. Even if it cannot win, self-defense is more than enough. It is a good opportunity to hone oneself. Li Qing pondered for a moment and nodded in agreement. That's fine. You can just follow me when the time comes. She looked at LiMu and suddenly asked, Miss Lu also knows about heart peach words, right? LiMu's heart skipped a beat. I wish I had known that Li Qing and Lu Hanyin would meet today. And she can see at a glance whether Lu Hanyin will heart peach words. Shouldn't have told that lie at that time. Telling her then is better than being exposed by her directly now. LiMu opened his mouth, eventually nodded. I know, but don't worry, boss. She will definitely not leak it out. I didn't mean to deceive you last time, Li Qing said indifferently. This is your thing. You can give it to whoever you want. No need to explain to me, LiMu said with relief. Are you not angry? Li Qing glanced at him. Why would I be angry about this matter? Li Qing doesn't seem to blame him. After saying this, he went out for patrol. At this time, 3 heads sprouted at the door of the room on duty. LiMu was a little speechless. What are you all looking at me for? Old man Wang clicked his tongue twice while looking at him. LiMu, you are still too inexperienced. Li Si looked at him with a strange look in his eyes. It's like looking at a fool. When a woman says she is angry, she often isn't really angry. And when a woman says she is not angry, she definitely is angry. Old man Wang clapped his hands and exclaimed, Insightful. LiMu looked at him and asked, Are you saying the boss is angry? LiMu felt doubtful. It's easy to tell when Lu Hanyin is angry. Her emotions are written all over her face. When she is angry, it's like LiMu owes her a large sum of silver that has not been repaid. Li Qing's emotions never show on the outside. LiMu finds it difficult to judge her mood through facial expressions and tone. Li Si understands this better than LiMu. He said Li Qing is angry. She is most likely genuinely angry. However, she is indeed angry that LiMu told heart peach words to Lu Hanyin. He really can't figure out a woman's mind. Old man Wang took a sip of tea and casually changed the topic. LiMu, you are going to Chao County, right? But you must be careful. Heaven has unpredictable storms, and people have imminent fortune and calamity. LiMu, you must be safe and avoid any trouble. I'm still waiting for you to see me off. Don't make me, with black hair, send off someone with white hair. Zhang Shan spat fiercely. Old man, I treated you as a friend. Do you treat us as sons? He pretended to grab Old Man Wang's neck. Old Man Wang coughed twice and said, Be careful. If you choke me to death, you'll have to use your hidden savings to buy me a coffin. LiMu is really speechless. These heartless guys. Can't mess with them anymore. Gotta get ready to go to Chao County. Chao County is a small village adjacent to Yangqiu County. There are many people gathered here. Most of these people are commoners dressed in tattered clothes, with pale and weary faces. There is also a small group of people who are cultivators, but their cultivation levels are not very high. LiMu's brows furrowed. These people were all injured by zombies, right? Huiyuan looked away, unable to bear it, and quietly chanted a Buddhist mantra. Several people had just entered the village when they were greeted by an elderly servant. The elderly servant asked as he walked, Are you colleagues from Yangqiu County? Hanja asked directly, What is the situation in Chao County? The old servant sighed. Help from all the counties has arrived. The talisman-making faction has also brought down many immortal masters. Even Fly Zombie has been slain. The previous few villages are no longer a major concern. Now those who are here are the ones who were injured earlier. The old servant led them to a courtyard. It is dangerous at night. The few of you who are disadvantaged first rest here for the night. If you want to continue forward, It is best to wait until early tomorrow to hit the road. At this moment, LiMu sees Huiyuan squatting beside an injured commoner. His hands emit a Buddha light, slowly easing into the person's wound. With the influx of golden Buddha light, wisps of black energy gradually emerge from the person's wound. That is the corpse energy within his body. LiMu walked to Huiyuan's side. LiMu squatted down and extended his palm. A golden light appeared in the palm of his hand. Huiyuan smiled as he looked at the golden light in LiMu's palm. Li Benefactor truly has innate wisdom. He has such abilities after cultivating for only a few months. If one can rely on my Buddha for meals, a great monk will definitely appear in the future. LiMu decisively refused. Let's talk about it later. LiMu called the old servant over and asked the injured civilians and cultivators to come out. I will work with Huiyuan to help them eliminate the corpse poison. The old servant immediately went to make arrangements. The corpse poison in the body has been dispelled. The body will immediately feel much lighter. The crowd expressed their thanks repeatedly. LiMu saved another commoner. Turning around, he saw the young monk Huiyuan staring at him blankly. LiMu asked, "Is there something on my face?" Huiyuan shook his head. "No, Li Benefactor, don't you want to accumulate merit?" LiMu was taken aback for a moment. "What merit?" Huiyuan pressed his palms together. "Li Benefactor, close your eyes. Feel the surroundings with your heart." LiMu does not know how to use the method of mindfulness. It's better to silently recite heart-peach words. Simply use your spiritual sense to feel it. After calming down, LiMu did feel it indeed. There is something around him. That thing is very weak. If you don't calm down to feel it, you won't discover it at all. From this, it can be seen that merit and the 7 emotions are completely different things. Huiyuan continued, try to draw these merits into your body. LiMu directly performed the technique of guiding and attracting. The things scattered around were all sucked into his body. At the same time, LiMu also clearly noticed that the speed of the Buddhist power in his body had increased. He finally understood why Shindu said helping others is also helping me. And he likes helping others so much. It turns out that doing good deeds has this kind of benefit. Over in Yangqiu County, since the last meal, Lu Hanyin has been upset and hasn't gone to see LiMu for 2 days. Only Wanwan has visited twice. LiMu has already left for Chao County. Lu Hanyin arrived at LiMu's doorstep and was about to knock on the door. At this moment, Wanwan ran over and said, "Miss, young master is not here." Lu Hanyin pursed her lips. "If he's not here, he's not here." It's as if someone wanted to see him. After saying that, she opened the gate of her own courtyard. A piece of paper fluttered down through the crack in the door, signed with Lu Hanyin's name. Pick up the paper. There are only 2 short lines of words on the paper. I went to Chao County. You and Wanwan, be safe at home. Close the doors and windows at night. Talisman, remember to carry it with you at all times? Lu Hanyin's face changed and asked, "Isn't there a lot of zombies in Chao County? What is he doing there?" Wanwan said, "The young master said it yesterday. What is inside the zombie's body that can help us in our cultivation?" Lu Hanyin turned pale. He tightly clenched the note between his teeth, muttering, "Who wants his help? This fool." The next morning, LiMu bid farewell to the old servant and continued to journey deep into Chao County. They proceeded forward along the way. They encountered desolate and dilapidated villages along the way. These villages had no signs of life, with houses having open doors and collapsing roofs. The walls were in ruins. Standing in front of this silent and desolate village, the larger villages are still fine. It's the small villages with only a dozen households like this that often turn into zombie villages. More than 1,000 innocent people have lost their lives in this disaster. Hanja said, "The county magistrate of Chao has been removed from office and investigated. The entire county of Chao has been taken over directly from above. Let's hurry to the depths of Chao County." At this moment, a dark shadow appeared behind them and suddenly lunged towards LiMu and the others. It was a black dog. More accurately, it is a zombie dog. Wubo snorted coldly. Just then, a white light flashed. The zombie dog's body was split in half from the middle. After falling to the ground, it remained motionless. LiMu's gaze narrowed slightly. This fat man's cultivation level has already reached the peak of cluster psychic. Although he is huge in size, his movements are not slow at all. LiMu couldn't see his moves at all. The little snake demon escaping from his hands can be considered quite a skill. Huiyuan couldn't bear it and chanted a Buddhist mantra. "I hope you can be reborn in the Pure Land and have a better life in the next life." Wubo mocked. "These evil creatures are soulless and without mercy. I'm afraid they won't get to be reborn," Hanja urged. The old servant said that a refuge village set up by the officials is just over 10 miles ahead. Let's hurry. During the journey, in addition to the zombie dog, a few people also encountered several live zombies, as well as a blink zombie hiding in a dark corner. After overcoming various obstacles, they finally arrived at the heavily guarded Qing River village. As they approached, a surprising voice suddenly came from the stone wall. But junior brother Han? Hanja looked up. It's senior brother Qin. Long time no see, senior brother Qin. Soon the door was opened from inside. Several people walked in. While walking, Hanja asked, "How's the situation here?" Senior Qin shook his head and said, "Those zombies hide underground during the day. They come out to attack the villages where people gather after the sun sets. It's fine during the day, but at night, we are still a bit short on manpower. Why don't you stay here? With you here, there's nothing to be afraid of. Besides a few powerful blink zombies in the nearby corpse groups. The rest of the living dead are nothing to fear. Wubo has the highest cultivation level. In theory, everyone should follow Wubo's arrangements for this operation. However, he has not exercised this power along the way." There was no objection to Senior Qin's ideas. However, the quieter he became. LiMu felt more and more uncomfortable, especially when he occasionally glanced at LiMu. It made LiMu feel like being stared at by a poisonous snake. Senior Qin led them into a courtyard and said, "I can only ask you to stay here for a rest first. The conditions here are a bit lacking. These are houses vacated by villagers. You can stay here for now." At this moment, Wubo forcefully pushed the person aside. "Don't bother me unless it's important. I need to rest." Hanja looked at Wubo's back with a displeased expression. People with the last name Wu are just like this. "Senior brother, don't mind him. Just ignore him." Senior brother Qin smiled and said, "How could that be? Junior brother Wu has great talent, and he is also the grandson of Elder Wu. It's understandable that they are a bit arrogant compared to us ordinary disciples." LiMu and the others arrived at Qing River Village. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. During these 3 days, they killed dozens of zombies. The remaining ones were sealed away for LiMu to practice on, mainly practicing extracting the remaining power from the zombies. Accumulating it to a certain extent can then refine the fear in the body. But as Li Qing pinched the seal with his hand and shouted loudly, not a trace of power was drawn out from these zombies' bodies. This made LiMu suspect that there was no power in the bodies of the zombies to begin with. If that's true, LiMu's trip to Chao County this time is destined to be a wasted trip. Not only that, he also wasted these days. But it's better to stay in the county and face the fear of refining honestly. In Qing River Village, Senior Qin made a suggestion. Instead of passively defending every day, it's better to take advantage of the daytime when the zombies are asleep and less active. Take the initiative to eliminate them all at once. Hanjo agrees with Senior Qin's idea. Including Senior Qin, we have 3 experts in cluster psychic here. Both Huiyuan and I have reached the congeal Hun cultivation level and possess the cultivation level. With this combination, even if we encounter a fly zombie, we have the strength to fight head-on. Senior brother Qin thought about it. Although we will be back before dark, just in case, it's best to have one more person stay in the village. In case of any unforeseen circumstances in the village. Han, how about you stay behind? Hanja nodded and said, "Then I will stay." Li Qing walked over to LiMu and said, "Your cultivation level is too low." LiMu shook his head and said, "I will go with you guys." Li Qing is worried about LiMu. LiMu is equally worried about her. The disaster of zombies in Chao County is different from that of Zhang Village. Like Li Qing, there are also cluster psychic cultivators who have fallen. Not being by her side, LiMu is extremely worried. Senior Qin looked at LiMu with a puzzled expression and asked, "Is the constable LiMu also going?" LiMu replied, "Don't worry. I won't become a burden to you. I also have some secret techniques to deal with zombies," said LiMu. Senior Qin should not say anything more. "Let's take a look at the sun overhead," he said. "This matter should be resolved sooner rather than later." At this moment, when the yang energy is strong, the timing is just right. Let's set off as soon as possible. We will go to the caves, tombs, and villages in Chao County. All possible places where zombies might be hiding have been explored by the cultivation practitioners. The zombies hidden here have long been eliminated. Only the underground caves in various locations remain, as the terrain is complex and sunlight rarely reaches there. Even cultivators at the cluster psychic realm dare not venture too deeply. Several miles away from Qing River Village, at the mountainside, LiMu and others stood facing a huge opening. Senior Qin said, "Near Qing River Village, this is the only underground cave. It is very likely that the zombies are hiding here." Saying that, he took out the map. This is a topographic map drawn by villagers before. "Everyone, remember it well. Once there is any change, immediately retreat." Li Qing took note of the map and turned to LiMu, saying, "You follow me in a moment. Don't stray too far." Senior Qin took out a few more talismans and said, "These talismans can conceal our aura, making it less likely for us to be discovered easily. Everyone keep them close and carry them at all times." Wubo, with his overweight body, was the first to enter the cave. He also didn't forget to grab a talisman and hold it in his hand. And then he disdainfully said, Just a few mindless beasts. Do we really need to be so fearful and hesitant? Several people each received a talisman and thanked with a murmur. Then they silently walked into the cave. The surroundings gradually became darker. After turning 2 corners and walking for dozens of steps, they could no longer see any light. After walking for an unknown distance, Wubo stopped walking and said lightly, "There's a smell of corpses." Senior Brother Qin's expression became serious. The group of corpses should be ahead. Now is when the yang energy is at its peak. They should all be asleep. Everyone, be careful. Definitely restrain your breath and don't wake them up. LiMu used his clairvoyance to see clearly the situation in the cave. At this moment, he was also secretly anxious. I don't know if the zombies here have the ability to speak. They were walking in a narrow passage. The passage was very tight, only allowing a few people to pass through. Wubo alone could block the entire passage. A few people walked forward for more than 100 steps. Suddenly, everything in front of them became clear. This winding passage led to a huge cave. LiMu didn't know how big this cave was, but with the heavenly eye, it could be seen. The cave was filled with densely packed bodies standing upright. He felt his scalp tingling. LiMu furrowed his brows slightly and swept his gaze over the group of corpses. He found that only a few of the blink zombies in the middle had a weak power. LiMu's gaze continued to sweep. His attention was drawn to the middle of the cave, where a dark shadow on a huge rock caught his eye. Did he absorb all the power from these zombies? Qin's senior brother's face slightly changed as he whispered. The strength of this corpse is very close to that of the fly zombie. Everyone should hold their breath and not wake it up. Under normal circumstances, it won't easily wake up without the sun setting. As he spoke, he took out a stack of pre-prepared talismans from his arms. This is the corpse sealing talisman. Let's first seal the other zombies. Finally, let's join forces to deal with the one on the stone. Retreat immediately if the situation changes. It's very disadvantageous for us to act here. As soon as the words fell, they raised their hands. The talisman could accurately stick to the foreheads of those zombies. The zombie on the giant rock in the middle of the cave finally woke up completely. However, it just glanced at LiMu and the other two before jumping down from the giant rock directly. The figure disappeared at the mouth of the cave. Li Qing was shocked and whispered, "He is intelligent." Before long, LiMu only heard a few angry roars coming from the passage. 2 figures flew out from the cave entrance, appeared before them once again. The zombie slowly walked out of the passage, rolled its eyes and scanned back and forth on LiMu and the others. LiMu thought that the zombie was going to let the 3 of them go. He didn't expect that it wanted to capture all of them. Qin's senior brother reminded, "It is about to evolve into a fly zombie. It is the king of these zombies. Everyone, be very careful." With the return of the zombie king, the zombies in the cave have also become restless. They have started attacking everyone indiscriminately. Li Qing formed hand seals with both hands, and several bolts of lightning struck down on a few blink zombies. Li Qing's face turned serious. This cave is filled with corpse energy and isolated from the outside world. Spiritual energy cannot replenish here, so I can no longer use lightning techniques. Otherwise, the spiritual energy here will be depleted. Unable to perform other cultivation levels, she drew the Qinghong sword. With a flash of sword light, a zombie's head approaching them was instantly severed. LiMu took out several talismans from his bosom, threw them at a zombie pouncing towards him. The talismans ignited in mid-air without any fire. After coming into contact with a live corpse, the latter immediately turned into a fierce flame, illuminating the entire underground cave. Wubo's belief was moved. While several people were fighting with zombies, he slipped away immediately. However, he attempted several times to escape through the original passage. They were all forced back by the Zombie King. The Zombie King roared again. A gust of cold wind suddenly rose in the cave. Half of the living dead who were previously held down by LiMu and others. The talismans that were pinned on their foreheads fell off one by one. Another wave of living dead appeared. LiMu suddenly felt the pressure doubled. This Zombie King obviously has the basic intelligence. It did not take action on its own. They have been using these low-level zombies to consume their talismans and mana. Huiyuan suddenly chanted a Buddhist mantra. A golden light shone brightly around his body, forming a light shield. Several zombies around him emitted white smoke when their bodies touched the golden light. They immediately retreated in fear. The Zombie King roared in anger repeatedly. A large amount of black gas appeared around the body, pressing against the golden light. When the black gas and golden light touched, they immediately rolled and boiled. Tiny beads of sweat gradually appeared on Huiyuan's forehead. LiMu saw how hard he was maintaining the Buddha's light. "Junior Huiyuan, lend me some of your magic power," he said. Huiyuan turned to look at him and grabbed his wrist with one hand. LiMu felt a continuous influx of Buddhist magic power into his body. He then began silently reciting the Heart Sutra. A golden light quickly appeared outside the body, several times brighter than Huiyuan's Buddha light. Huiyuan immediately understood. Although LiMu's cultivation level was not as high as his, the scriptures he cultivated must be extraordinary. LiMu completely enveloped the bodies of the other 4 people, leaving only Wubo with a gap in the shape of a person, exposing more than half of his body. LiMu smiled with bared teeth and said, "Sorry, my powers are limited. Wubo, it would be better if you were a bit thinner." Huiyuan suppressed a smile. Continue to channel power for LiMu. Over half of Wubo's body was exposed to the golden light, making him an immediate target for the zombies. Several inches-long purple nails stabbed directly into his body. The human-shaped gap in the golden light shield was obviously deliberately aimed at him. Wubo's face instantly turned gloomy. He clenched his teeth and sent the blink zombie flying with a punch. Then he threw out a talisman. The talisman formed a vast web of lightning in the air, wrapping several blink zombies inside. LiMu was within the light shield, looking calmly at Wubo, calculating silently in his mind. He had no grievances or grudges with him in the past, but he still made such a ruthless move against him. If he didn't avenge this enmity, LiMu's thoughts wouldn't be clear. At this moment, Wubo reached into his arms and couldn't find the talisman. Wubo looked viciously in the direction of LiMu and others once again. "What are you hiding there for? Come over and help now." Huiyuan pouted and said, "Serves you right." Qin brother walked out of the light shield. "I'll go help him." When he quickly arrived by Wubo's side, Wubo held a talisman emitting a terrifying aura in his hand. Junior brother Wu actually has an earth-tier talisman. "I will protect you. Hurry up and activate to eradicate these evil things in one fell swoop." Wubo entrusted his back to senior brother Qin. Both hands swiftly used full power to activate this talisman. But just at this moment, a sound of flesh being pierced resounded. Wubo's hand paused. A bloodied hand emerged from his chest, holding a still-beating heart in its palm. The bloodied hand squeezed forcefully, crushing the heart. Wubo's chest was penetrated, and the heart was shattered. Turning his head with difficulty, he gave a resentful look at Senior Qin. Senior Qin chuckled with a grin. Even the Earth-level talisman, Senior Brother Qin possesses it. He truly deserves to be a core disciple. The legacy of the elders is indeed rich. It really is enviable. The sudden unexpected change not only makes Wubo unbelievable, but also brings a look of shock to LiMu's face. The first thing he thinks of is, Senior Qin and Wubo have a grudge. But before this, they didn't show any signs of it at all. Little monk Huiyuan murmured, "I never expected that Senior Qin has already fallen into evil cultivation." Senior Qin still had a faint smile on his face. Shaking his head, he said, "You core disciples, the future elders. Smeltpo has the sect's support to cultivate his power. Congealhun has the sect's support to cultivate his power. There are also elders who provide you with precious talismans. For ordinary disciples like us, no matter how diligent and hard-working our cultivation is, what's the use? We will still be easily surpassed by you. We can only make a name for ourselves by relying on our own hands." Wubo's heart was crushed, but his body did not fall. Gritting his teeth, he said, "You intentionally lured us here." Brother Qin, who has always been kind, finally showed a sly smile on his face. "You deliberately set up your companion. You are not a good person, just like me. It's not a pity if you die. It's better to let me have my way." Brother Qin bowed deeply to the zombie king and said loudly, "Your Excellency, the king of zombies. According to our agreement, this person's soul belongs to you, and his spiritual essence belongs to me." The zombie king's eyes rolled. He grinned and chuckled twice. Then he took a deep breath towards Wubo's body. LiMu felt that the soul in his body was unstable and almost detached. Immediately guard his mind, firmly keeping the soul under control within the body. Wubo gritted his teeth, saying, "How can I die here?" As he spoke, a faint white light emanated from the wound on Wubo's chest, rapidly healing at a visible speed. Not only that, in his once empty chest cavity, a new heart suddenly appeared. The heart was beating strongly. Senior Qin's face changed drastically. It was only then that he realized what had happened. Only a heaven-ranked talisman can help regenerate limbs. "You actually have a heaven-ranked talisman." Wubo's face was extremely grim. This is his only heaven-ranked talisman. It is exceptionally precious. He never thought he would have to use it at a time like this. He casually took out a ground-level talisman, threw it into the air, and after the talisman flew into the air, it radiated a dazzling white light to completely illuminate the cave. That talisman eventually solidified into a sword shadow hanging in the air. Emitting a terrifying aura, it headed straight for Senior Qin. Even the weakest talisman was enough to kill an open psychic cultivator. Senior Qin was locked onto by this sword light. His face changed drastically as he called out loudly, "Lord Corpse King, please save me." As he spoke, a black figure appeared out of thin air in front of him, and the sword light struck the Corpse King's body. Sparks splattered. After one sword strike, the sword light disappeared. Even though the Corpse King had tough skin and bones, a deep cut appeared on its back. Senior Brother Qin breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you, Your Majesty Corpse King," he said. But before he could finish his sentence, Xiaoran stopped him. The Corpse King extended its hands. The sharp nails pierced into his neck. Senior Brother Qin's essence and blood were instantly sucked into the body of the Corpse King. His body withered at a visible speed. After absorbing Senior Qin's essence and soul, the wound on the Zombie King's back has completely healed. His aura also skyrocketed instantly. The dry grass-like hair gradually turned black and shiny. The dry skin became plump and rosy at a visible speed. The corpse aura on him disappeared without a trace. In the blink of an eye, the appearance of the corpse became no different from that of a normal person. Wu Bu's body regained vitality. His aura is much stronger than before. He instantly moved to Li Qing and others and exclaimed loudly, "It has evolved into a fly zombie. It's not easy to deal with. Everyone take action together." Just as they said this, they suddenly took out another talisman and stuck it on their own forehead. The surface of the talisman shone briefly. His body went straight into the ground, disappearing into the cave. Hui Yuan turned around and angrily said, "It's the Earth Escape technique." Wu the headcatcher escaped alone. LiMu cursed silently in his heart. In his heart, he had already sliced Wu Bu thousands of times. The Zombie King seemed to have sensed the danger. Instinctively, he took a step back. His dark eyes kept shifting, as if thinking. The next moment, he abandoned LiMu and the other two, flying into a passageway. Wu Bu used the Earth Escape technique to leave the underground and breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the sunlight. He never expected this. He never expected this underground journey to be so dangerous. Not only was there a Jiangxi king that evolved into a fly zombie, also encountered the traitor of the talisman-making faction, almost causing his life to end here. If it weren't for the life-saving talismans bestowed by his grandfather. Afraid that he has died down there, his mind raced frantically to escape from this place. A dark shadow suddenly descended from the sky. Inside the underground cavern, there was no zombie queen. LiMu and the other two felt an immediate decrease in pressure. After resolving these troubles, just now, the underground cave, which was unusually noisy, suddenly became quiet. Hui Yuan walked to Senior Qin's corpse, sighed and said, "The path of cultivation." Senior Qin couldn't resist the temptation after all. LiMu didn't expect it either. He actually colluded with this zombie king that has gained spiritual wisdom. It's unexpected that disciples of the talisman-making faction have also fallen into evil cultivation. The cruelty of the cultivation world was vividly displayed in front of LiMu once again. LiMu increasingly felt that what old man Wang had said was right. The essence of cultivation is survival of the fittest, even if one can refrain from harming others. But one cannot guarantee that others will not harm him. Senior Qin gave him a great warning. When encountering someone cultivating, even if the other party has no malicious intent, he must also remain cautious and not easily trust others. LiMu's mind wandered. Suddenly there was movement in a passage. In the next moment, a figure appeared at the entrance of the passage. When Xindu saw LiMu, he was first stunned. Then, a look of great joy appeared on his face. Li Shizhu's wisdom turned out to be so profound. "I made a mistake last time as well." LiMu quickly received the Buddha's light, hiding behind Li Qing seeking refuge. "This guy won't make me become a monk again, right?" Hui Yuan exclaimed in surprise. "Uncle Xindu, you're here too." Xindu patted Hui Yuan's bald head and said, "It's my nephew Hui Yuan. I just happened to pass by here yesterday. I found the corpse gas surging from the ground, so I came down to take a look. I didn't expect to get lost in this cave. I followed the Buddha's light to find my way here." Hui Yuan said nervously, "Master, a zombie here has evolved into a fly zombie and escaped. We need to eliminate it quickly. Otherwise, more innocent civilians will suffer." Xindu looked around and said, "Let's go out first." Before leaving, Li Qing threw out several talismans. "Burn the zombies in this cave, along with Senior Qin's body to ashes." The corpse poison of Fly Zombie is stronger than that of Blink Zombie. He died at the hands of Fly Zombie. Only on-site localization can prevent trouble caused by corpse transformation. After doing all this, the four of them walked out along the corridor they came from. Xindu kept talking to LiMu all the way. "Master Li, it's a pity that with your wisdom, you don't cultivate Buddhism. Are you really not considering it anymore?" LiMu's attitude is firm.
Saw thee.
"I am not considering it. What conditions can you propose? We can discuss everything. Can I not become a monk? Yes. Can I not live in the temple? Yes. Can I marry a wife? No, really cannot. So there's nothing to discuss." Ren Xuandu's eloquence is like a blooming lotus. Still unable to persuade LiMu, Li Qing glanced lightly at Xindu. He is not willing to become a monk. "Please don't force others, master." Xindu looked at Li Qing. He then looked at LiMu. It seemed like he understood something. He sighed deeply and said, since that's the case, from now on, this humble monk will no longer force the generous donors. It's just that this humble monk still has one request. Hope the generous donor agrees. LiMu laughed, saying, as long as it's not about entering the monastic life, everything can be discussed. Xiandu asked, generous donor, the scripture on cultivation should not be the basic scripture, right? The humble monk does not covet the scripture of the generous donor. I have just observed that the Buddha light emanating from this scripture is extraordinary. The abbot of the Golden Mountain Temple was injured by an evil cultivation a few months ago, destroying the abbot's cultivation foundation. The mysterious power contained in this Buddha light is beyond my comprehension. Perhaps it can help him restore his foundation and eliminate the old afflictions. LiMu thought for a moment and said, saving people is of course possible. It's just that my magical power is weak, which may disappoint the master. Xiandu smiled and said, at that time, the young benefactor can borrow my magic power, even if it doesn't work out. The Golden Mountain Temple owes you a favor too. Huiyuan said, can Li Shizu reveal where this scripture originated from? LiMu chuckled and replied, it was on a snowy night. An old monk chatted on and on. Soon, the four people walked out of the cave. LiMu stood at the entrance of the underground cave, looking around. He noticed that it was very different from when they had entered, and there are residual fluctuations of magical power here. LiMu surveyed his surroundings. Under a tree, he saw a familiar figure. Wubo was lying under the tree. His body was riddled with bullet holes. His body had shrunk by at least half. His vital essence and blood had been sucked dry. His physical strength was gone. His spiritual energy had vanished, and he didn't know where it had gone. Huiyuan clasped his hands together in pity, saying that if Captain Wu hadn't let anyone escape, they wouldn't have ended up in their current situation.
Xuandubo di na Buddhist salute.
Amitba, one peck, one drink. Everything has its own fate. It is his destiny. There is no blame on others. After saying that, Xiandu looked in a certain direction. The zombie fled to the west. I have to go after him, so he won't harm more people, LiMu reminded. This zombie has evolved into a fly zombie. Master Xiandu, be careful. The newly evolved fly zombie can rival the open psychic of the Taoist sect and the golden body realm of the Buddhist sect. Xuandu's realm is indeed the golden body. He can easily crush the evolution-shaped monsters. However, it may not be to his advantage when facing the fly zombie, Huiyuan said with a slight smile. Li, don't worry. Senior Xiandu has advanced to the golden body realm for many years. Dealing with this fly zombie is naturally not a problem for him. Listening to Huiyuan's words, LiMu no longer worried about Xiandu. He turned to Li Qing and asked, what should we do now? Li Qing thought for a moment and replied, first, return to Qing River Village. When they arrived at Qing River Village, Hanja came up and asked from a distance, why did you come back so soon? How did it go? Have the hordes of corpses been wiped out? LiMu nodded and said, they have been eliminated. Only one fly zombie escaped. Master Xiandu from the Golden Mountain Temple has gone to pursue it. Hanja looked around and asked, what about Wubo and Senior Qin? Did they go to chase the fly zombie too? LiMu replied, Wubo was killed by that fly zombie. As for Senior Qin, Hanja's eyes immediately widened. How is Senior Qin? Huiyuan sighed and said, Senior Qin colluded with that stiff person. They lured us to go to the underground and meet our death. Captain Wu almost died at his hands. Brother Qin was later drained of his essence and spirit by the fly zombie. He perished in the underground cave. Hanja's face changed drastically. He grabbed Huiyuan's collar and angrily exclaimed, impossible! Brother Qin could never do such a thing. What are you talking about? Li Qing looked at Hanja and said, he is telling the truth. Brother Qin has long fallen into evil cultivation. He brought the cultivators underground to let the zombies feed on essence. Hanja turned pale. He slowly released his grip on Huiyuan's collar. This is impossible. Brother Qin cannot be that kind of person. He couldn't possibly do such a thing. He shook his head while stepping back. Finally disappeared from the sight of the three of them. LiMu sighed and said, let him be alone for a while. When Wubo was alive, he was disliked by people as much as by dogs. No one cares about his death. But Qin's death has hit Hanja hard. At this moment, Hanja also understands. When he set out, Qin deliberately left him behind. Qin's senior brother is not willing to harm Hanja. 2 hours later, when LiMu found him, Hanja was sitting on the roof of the tallest house in the village, his eyes swollen like peaches. LiMu sat beside him and asked, did you cry? Hanja gritted his teeth and replied, no. LiMu sighed and said, you're still denying it. His voice even became hoarse. Hanja glared at him angrily. LiMu, you are so annoying, yet so many people are kind to you. LiMu shrugged and said, maybe because I look good. Hanja turned his head and spat. I remember you were not like this before, LiMu sighed. People change. Hanja murmured, yes, you will change. I will change. Senior Qin will also change. He used to be the most hardworking and diligent in our line. The most diligent cultivator. How did he become evil cultivation? LiMu shook his head. He might be envious of those born in heaven without any effort. Resources can be fed into the mouth in abundance. He said no matter how hard he tried, he would still be surpassed by those people. So he didn't want to make an effort anymore. It was only after that he targeted Wubo. Old Man Wang once told LiMu, cultivation itself is inherently unfair. Some people have average talent. Others reach a certain realm in cultivation within a year. They need cultivation for 10 or even several decades. Hanja's expression darkened as he said, Senior Qin has always been very kind to me. He is like an older brother to me. He guides me in cultivation. When I was bullied by other senior brothers, he stood up for me. It was with Senior Qin's help that I successfully condensed my first qi. Other than my parents and master, Senior Qin is the best person to me in this world. Without a guide in cultivation, you cannot understand this feeling. LiMu glanced at him and said, Who said I don't have one? Hanja was taken aback, seeming to realize something, and his expression became even more bitter. LiMu looked at him and asked, Why don't you ask who is the guide of my cultivation? Hanja said angrily, I don't know, and I don't want to know. Leave. I don't want to see you again.
LiMu smiled.
Guide me to embark on cultivation. It's our leader. Hanja was furious. Did I ask you? Get out. Immediately. After being comforted by LiMu, Hanja's condition looked much better. It's just that LiMu's mood has instead become a little low. Cultivation itself is unfair. One must endure loneliness and withstand refinement. Although zombies are terrifying, what's even scarier than zombies is the complexity of the human heart. Hanja has already calmed his emotions. I'm going back to the sect. I'll bring back news of Senior Qin and Wubo. Leave things here to you all, LiMu said lightly. Except for that escaping fly zombie, all the zombies in the underground cave have been eliminated. Qing River Village will no longer be in danger. You can rest assured. Xindu only returned to Qing River Village near evening. Xindu sighed and said, Fly zombie is running too fast. I can't catch up with him. LiMu also sighed. The power that was in hand just flew away like that. The power of the nearby voodoo zombies and blink zombie. All of them were absorbed by the zombie king for evolution. If LiMu wants to collect power, he can only continue to delve deeper. But in doing so, the risks will also multiply. Li Qing saw the struggle on his face. I will do my best to help you collect it. You go back to the Yamen first. It just happens that these matters can be reported to the county magistrate. Xindu took out a piece of jade from his arms. Does the young benefactor want to take the zombie pua for their own cultivation purposes? During these days, this humble monk has encountered quite a few zombies and collected a considerable amount of power. As he spoke, he handed over the soul pill. Originally, I was going to use it to refine my body. I think the younger benefactor might need it more. I wonder if this is enough? LiMu quickly took the jade from Xuandu's hands. After examining it for a while, he discovered that there was quite a bit of power hidden in this jade. It should be enough for him to refine the anger essence. There will be plenty left over. LiMu smiled and said, That's enough, thank you, Master Xindu. Xindu smiled and replied, You're welcome. After I return to Yangqiu County, I will go to the county office to invite the young benefactor. The next morning, LiMu used the teleportation talisman to travel for several hours before arriving at the county office. County Magistrate Zhang listened to LiMu's explanation. He was so shocked that he jumped up from his chair and exclaimed in disbelief, You said Wubo was killed by the fly zombie? LiMu nodded. Yes. His soul has scattered. He is dead and gone. Magistrate Zhang sighed. This is trouble now. How could he die at this critical moment? How can this county explain to the talisman-making faction? LiMu discusses about the different ways. Is the magistrate afraid that the talisman-making faction will cause trouble for the county government? Magistrate Zhang snorted coldly. Who has the county ever been afraid of? Behind this county is the Great Zhou Court. Would they be afraid of the talisman-making faction? Then he continued somewhat nervously. But the county has been very busy with official duties recently. There is no time to deal with them. If the talisman-making faction comes, just tell them I am not here. LiMu had mixed emotions as he walked out of the courtroom. Although the talisman-making faction and the Great Zhou Court had collaborated a lot, but they were not inseparable. This can be seen from the zombie disaster in Chao County this time. If the talisman-making faction wholeheartedly wants to help the court, just send a blessing or Dongxian cultivation practitioner. One person can resolve the danger in Chao County, instead of just sending these cluster psychic and open psychic disciples. The calamity in Chao County has not been resolved yet. At this time, Zhang Shan walked over and asked, Is Fatbo really dead? LiMu nodded. He was bitten by a zombie. He died for real. I personally burned the corpse. Zhang Shan's eyes widened. I said that evil will be repaid with evil. Old Man Wang still didn't believe it. LiMu asked, "Where is Old Man Wang? I didn't see him when I was on duty just now." Zhang Shan thought about it. Mr. Wang took a leave of absence. He just left this morning. He said he went to visit relatives in another place. LiMu was a bit surprised and said, "Visit relatives? Doesn't Old Man Wang have any family?" Zhang Shan said lightly, "I don't know either. Old Man Wang unexpectedly still has relatives. Do you think he will leave the money to his relatives when he dies?" LiMu bid farewell to Zhang Shan and returned home alone. Now he has successfully condensed the fourth poo. Master Shindu also gave him some of his own power. It is enough to refine a purr for each of Miss Lu and Wan Wan. When LiMu was about to reach the doorstep of his home, he saw Wan Wan sitting on the steps at the entrance, boredom in her eyes as she watched the bustling crowd on the street. Upon seeing LiMu return, Wan Wan jumped up excitedly and exclaimed, "Young master, you're back. Miss has been really worried about you these days." LiMu touched her head affectionately and smiled, saying, "Really?" At that moment, the sound of hurried footsteps came from the courtyard. The pace slowed down as they reached the door. Lu Hanyin pushed the door open and walked out, saying, "Laurine, I'm not worried about him at all. I'm just afraid he will be bitten by zombies. You will have nowhere to freeload in the future." LiMu could tell from Lu Hanyin's voice that she was still angry. LiMu rubbed his belly and changed the subject, asking, "Is there anything to eat?" After a day of rushing on the road, "I'm starving to death," Lu Hanyin grumbled. "Go change your clothes and wash your hands. I just cooked noodles." Lu Hanyin's noodles were also very delicious. LiMu ate 3 bowls in one breath. After he finished eating, he took out a piece of jade from his pocket and handed it to Lu Hanyin. Lu Hanyin reached out and took it. The tone of her voice also softened a bit. "Don't think that giving me a piece of jade will make me forgive you. Next time if you leave without saying goodbye, I will pretend that you are not my friend." LiMu explained, "This is not an ordinary jade. Weren't you complaining about your slow cultivation speed? The power in this jade can help you refine and smelt your core. But it is best to tread carefully in cultivation. Don't always think about shortcuts. The difference between the power cultivated through hard work and the power gained through tricks is immense. It also hones a person's character. On this trip to Chao County, someone has gone astray." Lu Hanyin said, "Don't worry. Even if I want to take a shortcut, I won't take this kind of shortcut." LiMu smiled. "I'm reassured by what you said." LiMu's face turned cunning as he said, "But you are different. You still have other shortcuts." Lu Hanyin was slightly taken aback. "What shortcut?" LiMu said truthfully, "You are of the pure Yin constitution. Find a partner with a pure Yang constitution for dual cultivation. There is no faster shortcut than this." Lu Hanyin sneered. "You're dreaming." LiMu waved his hand repeatedly. "I didn't say it was me. Don't worry. Didn't I make it clear? You're not the type I like." Lu Hanyin took a deep breath, forcibly keeping her emotions in check. LiMu thought for a moment. "Not entirely. If a woman has the brain power, if she has Wan Wan's personality, if she is as rich as you." Lu Hanyin snorted coldly. Through gritted teeth, she said, "Keep dreaming." LiMu seemed to not notice Lu Hanyin's emotions, licking his face and saying, "I'm a bit thirsty. Is there any tea?" Lu Hanyin restrained her anger and said coldly, "Do you want to drink the water used for washing dishes?" Immediately after, LiMu was driven out. Lu Hanyin is really a woman who loves to get angry. Unfortunately, she has already refined the second puh. Anger does not show on the outside. LiMu couldn't absorb it anymore. Soon, 3 days had passed. The elder of the talisman-making faction slaughtered all the zombies in Chao County. It is certain that there will be no more zombies in Chao County for a long time. LiMu sat in the yamen, took out a notice and wrote 2 lines on it. "There are millions of tombs. Safety comes first. Improper funeral arrangements. Loved ones shed 2 lines of tears. Old Man Wang is not in the yamen. His duty as the housekeeper has temporarily become LiMu's." At this moment, there was a noisy commotion coming from outside the housekeeping room. At the same time, he also sensed several familiar auras. LiMu walked out of the duty room. He saw Liqing, Hanja, and Huiyuan standing in the courtyard. LiMu smiled. "Dad, you're back," Hanja said impatiently. "Can't you see us?" LiMu ignored him, continuing to question, "Has the fly zombie been caught?" Liqing shook his head. His speed is faster than controlling the aura. It's not easy for strong practitioners at the blessing stage to catch it. Elder Wu has been looking for it all along. Elder Wu is the grandfather of Wu Bo. It is said that he has been searching for a few days with no results. Liqing looked pensive. "I always feel like something is off. In fact, LiMu also feels that something is not quite right."